Agnes Rafinyan. I'm the General Manager of TGP Pharma Inc., the franchisors of TGP, the Generics Pharmacy, ang tagapagpagaling ng Pilipinas, now with over 2,000 branches nationwide. And I'm here to answer a few questions for the Principles of Management class of the De La Salle College of St. Benil. Ethical dilemmas are those situations where one has to make a decision between two choices, neither of which are morally acceptable. And in my experience, being a manager for a long time, in business, ethical dilemmas occur because of one of two things. One, pressure to perform, and secondly, a person's interpersonal relationship with the other parties involved in the ethical situation. So let me explain this. First off, on the pressure to perform. When one is pressured to perform, one's moral ethics are usually questioned or put into test. In your desire to deliver results, one may take a shortcut, one may take the easy way out, and taking these easy way outs sometimes leads an employee to do or to take action that are not ethical in nature. Now, as to the second reason, a person's interpersonal relationships with the other parties involved in the ethical situation, you see, the balance of whether you will decide one over the other is often more difficultly tipped when you are in a relationship with the person involved. Either a boss that you admire or hate, whether it's a colleague that you are very, very close with, or maybe in a personal and private relationship with, or maybe it's a family member who happens to be working in the same office as you do. So these often tip the balance on whether someone will decide to do what's wrong or right. Alright, so how do we avoid these ethical dilemmas in the workplace? There are several ways, and one of the first things that come to mind really is to develop and cascade and make sure everyone knows an employee code of conduct. An employee code of conduct defines the do's and don'ts, what are allowed to do and what are not allowed to do. And included in this employee code of conduct can be a matrix or a table of penalties and remedies for when violations are happening. The second way of avoiding ethical dilemmas is to make sure that everyone is inducted or orientated into what is acceptable in the company. So new employees or old employees, the code of conduct has to be re-emphasized, reintroduced, and often cascaded repeatedly. Thirdly, one may also consider a performance management system that not only rewards quantifiable results, or the KPIs, but also rewards values. So in TGP, for example, 60% is on KPI that are measurable, quantifiable, and 40% is on how these results are delivered. So whether you follow the values of cooperation, coordination, integrity, and transparency, these are important. Fourthly, to avoid ethical dilemmas, it's important to develop a culture of integrity and transparency in the organization. Meaning, everyone knows that when faced with an ethical dilemma, the management will always decide to do the right thing. And the virtue of openness, where anyone who has information can come up and report, and the identity of that person will be protected, and the rights of the people accused will also be protected, such that investigations will be done, and until an investigation is done, that no penalties are meted out. And finally, to avoid ethical dilemmas, it's important to have a firm resolve on the penalties that are meted out in the corporate code of conduct, in the employee code of conduct. So if you say that for this kind of violation, this is the penalty, regardless of who did the violation, one has to be firm in making the decision that these are what we agreed on, this is our covenant, we have to follow this. Ethics is a system of moral values. These are guiding principles that determine right from wrong and good from bad behavior. In business, ethics are guided fundamentally by the concepts of human decency. Also, it also includes universally acceptable concepts of fairness, equality, concern for public health and safety, compliance with the law, and even care for the environment. So in TGP, corporate social responsibility is manifested in several ways. First off, you employ a diverse organization. You employ a diverse set of employees that does not take into account religious or political beliefs or ethnicities. Okay? It's important to be an inclusive organization. This also means employing individuals regardless of their gender or preferences. Okay. Secondly, corporate social responsibility is also manifested in dealing with your vendors and manufacturers. So in TGP, we only work with manufacturers, local and international, who comply with the law, one. Two, whose water treatment facilities comply with the requirements of environmental safety, and whose raw materials and workplace are also safe for their workers. Another way that TGP participates in CSR is by making donations with our medicines. So we usually conduct medical and dental missions with our franchisees, and on each occasion we give out free medicines. And lastly, TGP's advocacy is also evangelism. When we say evangelism, we'd like to spread the word of God, and we support this by donating 1 million Bibles every year to churches and schools and other organizations that would like to, whose main mandate is to spread the word. Corporate social responsibility is very important when you're doing business, period. Why? Companies no longer operate in a vacuum. You're always operating with the environment at large, with the public at large, and to become better managers, if you're part of an organization, it's important that that organization practices corporate social responsibility. Meaning, as you pursue your commercial goals, it's important that ethical standards in dealing with the public, in dealing with the environment, are also met. This means that rather, this is especially important if you are a publicly listed organization, such as Robinson's Retail Holdings, where TGP is a part of. Because you are publicly listed, this means the public is invested in you. You have stockholders that bought your stocks. And as a publicly listed company, all the more that you have to keep attuned with what is important to your public, to your investors. So if environmental safety is important with them or to them, if public health and public safety and workplace safety is important, then these are things that should be practiced in your organization. Okay. In closing, I hope to have imparted some valuable management lessons to this class. And I guess as parting words, let me leave you this, which in a way is also a guiding principle to me when I am faced with ethical dilemmas. First, when in doubt, don't. Never ever go into make a decision where you have not deep dived and seen or heard all sides of a story. Make sure you hear all sides of the story and interviewed all the parties so that you make an informed decision. And finally, if and when you make that decision, make sure it's a decision that will pass the New York Times rule. By that I mean, never ever make a decision that you wouldn't want to see in the front page of the New York Times or any newspaper for that matter. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.